They ignored me for a month straight. My wife and daughter treated me like I was invisible, laughing behind my back in their secret group chat. So I vanished at 4:47 a.m. without a word. 3 years later, she invited me to the wedding. When I walked through those doors, she saw who I'd become. My name is David Marsh. I'm 52 years old, and I spent most of my adult life designing failsafes for aircraft, redundancies, backup systems, the kind of engineering that keeps planes in the air when everything else wants to bring them down. Ironic, isn't it? I could build emergency protocols for Boeing jets, but I never saw the warning lights flashing in my own marriage until I was already in a nosedive. Looking back, maybe I should have noticed sooner. The way Patricia's eyes would glaze over when I talked about work. How Emma stopped asking me for advice somewhere around her junior year of college. But I told myself it was normal. People grow, relationships evolve, right? I was the provider, the problem solver, the guy who made sure the mortgage got paid and the cars got serviced. I thought that mattered. The real beginning of the end started in March, about 5 weeks before Emma's wedding. I came home from a consultation trip to Seattle, tired, but excited because I'd closed a major contract with Alaska Airlines. 6 figures for a year-long safety audit project. I walked through the door expecting maybe a "how was your trip?" or "that's great, honey." Instead, Patricia was on the couch with her laptop, and Emma was at the dining table with fabric swatches spread out like a textile explosion. I set my bag down. "Hey, I'm home." Nothing. Not even a glance. I tried again, louder this time. The Seattle deal went through. We're looking at a really good year. Patricia made a humming sound that could have meant anything or nothing. Emma held up 2 nearly identical pieces of cream-colored fabric to the light, squinting at them like they held the secrets of the universe. I walked over to the table. "Emma, those look nice. What are they for?" She finally looked at me, but it was the kind of look you give a stranger who's standing too close on the subway. "Table runners," she said flatly, then turned back to Patricia. "Mom, which one do you think works better with the gold chargers?" Patricia leaned forward, studying them with an intensity she'd never shown my engineering plans. "Definitely the one on the left. More texture." I stood there for another moment, feeling something cold settle in my chest. Then I picked up my bag and headed upstairs. Nobody noticed. That was day 1. By day 7, I'd figured out the pattern. They didn't argue with me. They didn't snap or criticize. They just erased me. Conversations happen around me, through me, but never with me. I'd ask about the florist, the caterer, the venue, all the things I'd been helping coordinate for months. I'd get one-word answers or none at all. Sometimes Patricia would repeat my question to Emma, as if I hadn't just asked it myself. At dinner on day 12, I tried to lighten the mood. Made a joke about how all weddings should come with an engineering flowchart to keep track of everything. Emma looked at Patricia and rolled her eyes. Patricia actually laughed. At me, not with me. I finished my meal in silence while they discussed dress alterations and bridesmaid drama, like I was a piece of furniture. Day 19, I stopped trying to engage. Started watching instead. Observing. That's when I noticed the little things. How they'd move items on the counter just out of my reach. How they'd schedule wedding meetings and forget to tell me. How every suggestion I made got dismissed. But if Patricia said the exact same thing 5 minutes later, suddenly it was brilliant. Day 28 was when everything changed. Not because they suddenly started treating me like a human being, but because I finally saw the truth in black and white. Emma had left her tablet charging on the kitchen counter. She was upstairs getting ready for another wedding vendor meeting, one I hadn't been told about. Patricia was in the shower. I was making coffee, and the screen lit up with a notification. I wasn't trying to snoop. The message just appeared right there. A group chat with Emma, Patricia, and 2 of Emma's bridesmaids. The preview showed my name. My hand hesitated over the tablet. I'd never been the kind of husband who checked his wife's phone or invaded privacy. But something in my gut, that same instinct that told me when an aircraft design had a fatal flaw, made me tap the screen. The chat was titled Wedding Planning Squad. I scrolled up, reading through weeks of messages. Most of it was normal stuff about flowers and seating charts. Then I found a section about me. One of the bridesmaids had written, "Is your dad coming to the dress fitting?" Emma's response, "Ugh, hope not. He's been hovering lately." Patricia had added, "Don't worry. He'll back off soon. He always does." Then another message from Emma, from 3 weeks ago. He asked about the rehearsal dinner again. So annoying. "Patricia, Just ignore him. He'll get the hint. The bridesmaid. That's kind of harsh, isn't it? Emma, you don't understand. He's just so boring. Like, everything has to be practical and planned out. He sucks the fun out of everything. Patricia had sent a laughing emoji, then typed, "Give it another week. He won't last a month. Then we can plan things the way we want." I stare at those words. He won't last a month. Like I was some annoying pest they were waiting to exterminate itself. Like my presence in my own daughter's wedding planning was something to endure and outlast. I scrolled further, found screenshots they'd shared. One was from a family group chat where I'd suggested we create a budget spreadsheet for wedding expenses. Emma had circled my message and sent it to this private chat with the caption, "He's trying again." More laughing emojis. More jokes at my expense. Patricia had written, "At least he's consistent." Consistently boring. The shower upstairs turned off. I heard Patricia's footsteps in the bedroom above. I put the tablet back exactly where I'd found it, screen dark, charging cable at the same angle. Then I walked out to the garage, got in my car, and sat there in the darkness with the door closed. Something inside me didn't just break. It evaporated. The version of me who thought I was building a family, providing for people I loved, being a good husband and father, that man just dissolved like morning fog. I sat there for 20 minutes, completely still, while a new version of myself assembled in the silence. This version was clear-headed, methodical. This version had already started planning. When I walked back into the house, Patricia was in the kitchen, hair wet, looking at her phone. She glanced up. "Where'd you go?" I smiled. "Just needed some air. I'm fine." She went back to her phone, already forgetting I existed. That was okay. I was counting on it. I left at 4:47 a.m. on a Tuesday. Not because of sentimentality, but because that's when the neighborhood is quietest. Dogs still asleep. No early joggers. No witnesses. My bag was already in the trunk, packed 3 days earlier and hidden under a tarp in the garage. One suitcase. Everything else I needed was either digitized or replaceable. I'd learned long ago that aircraft emergencies require you to prioritize what's essential and abandon the rest. I stood in the kitchen one last time. Patricia's wine glass sat on the counter, lipstick stain still visible on the rim. She'd stopped rinsing them out years ago, back when she stopped caring about the small courtesies that held a marriage together. I'd thought about leaving a note. Something profound maybe, but they didn't deserve my words. They'd stopped listening to them months ago. Instead, I took my house keys off the ring, set them next to the wine glass. Then I pulled out the joint credit card, the one Patricia had been using for wedding deposits, and cut it in half with kitchen scissors. Left both pieces arranged neatly beside the keys. 3 items in a row. Keys, card pieces, wine glass, a still life titled Things I'm Done With. I'd spent the last 2 days methodically erasing myself from the house's digital infrastructure. Removed my profile from the security system. Changed all the passwords Patricia didn't know I'd created. Wiped my tablet and phone of anything personal. I'd even taken my name off the Wi-Fi router admin account. The wedding planning spreadsheet I'd built, I transferred it to Patricia's email with a simple message. "You wanted to handle it yourselves. Now you can." Then I deleted my access. 2 months ago, I'd quietly stopped my direct deposit into our joint account. Started routing my consulting income through a new account Patricia didn't know existed. I'd sold my shares in the aviation consulting firm I'd helped build, the one nobody in my family ever asked about. The proceeds went into a trust structure my attorney set up through a colleague in Montana. Every financial thread that connected me to this house, to this life, I'd been cutting systematically. One strand at a time. I walked to my car, a 15-year-old Honda I'd kept running through sheer stubbornness. Patricia always said I should buy something newer, flashier, something that announced success. I'd refused. Turns out that stubborn old Honda was perfect for disappearing. The engine started with barely a whisper. I backed out slowly, headlights off until I reached the end of the street. As I drove away, I glanced in the rearview mirror once. The house looked peaceful in the pre-dawn darkness, like it was sleeping off a bad dream. It didn't know yet that when it woke up, I'd be gone. By the time Patricia found the keys and the destroyed credit card, I'd be 3 states away. By the time she tried to call, my number would be disconnected. By the time she realized I wasn't coming back, I'd already have become someone else entirely. I merged onto the highway heading north. No music, no radio, just the hum of tires on asphalt and the quiet satisfaction of a plan executed perfectly. They didn't panic. That's what surprised me most when I heard about it later, through a mutual acquaintance. Patricia didn't file a missing person report, didn't call my brother, didn't even seem particularly concerned. She hosted her weekly wine night 3 days after I left. Her friend Carol, the one with the loose lips and the tighter moral standards, later told someone who eventually told me. Patricia acted like nothing had changed. When someone asked where I was, she'd sigh dramatically and said, "Thomas is going through something. Men his age do this. He'll be back when he's ready." Going through something. Like I was having a midlife crisis instead of executing a carefully planned extraction. Emma posted on social media the following week a photo of her and Patricia at a bridal salon, both smiling wide. The caption read, "Just us girls getting things done. Sometimes that's all you need." Dozens of comments. Lots of heart emojis. Nobody asked about me. The official story, as it spread through their social circle, was that I'd needed space and couldn't handle the wedding stress. Patricia told her Pilates instructor I'd always been emotionally unavailable. She told the neighbor I'd been acting strange for months. Each version painted me as fragile, unstable, quietly falling apart. The narrative was brilliant, really. By positioning me as the one having a breakdown, she maintained sympathy while avoiding accountability. She was the strong one, the abandoned wife holding it together for her daughter's sake. I was the middle-aged man who couldn't cope. What Patricia didn't know was that I'd anticipated this. I'd left just enough ambiguity that she couldn't claim abandonment in any legal sense, but not enough information for her to track me. I disappeared in the gray zone between leaving and being gone. The first week, she tried to access her joint accounts. Found them nearly empty. I'd withdrawn my contributions legally, leaving exactly half for her. Her half. The second week, she tried to log into the airline consulting firm's partner portal. Access denied. I transferred my shares to Connor, my son from my first marriage, through a private sale nobody knew about. The firm's managing partner, an old friend, had processed it quietly. By week 3, Patricia was calling my old colleagues. Had anyone heard from me? Was I okay? Did I mention where I was going? Every answer was the same. No. She hired a private investigator on week 4. I know because he found one of my decoy trails, a hotel booking in Colorado under my name. By the time he got there, the reservation was canceled, and I'd never actually been within 500 miles of Denver. Meanwhile, Emma's wedding planning continued without me. They'd switched to Patricia's credit for deposits. The florist never knew I existed. The caterer had my name removed from all correspondence. Even the wedding website bio section, where it had said, "Emma is the beloved daughter of David and Patricia Marsh," got edited. Now it just said, "Emma Marsh is getting married." I'd been erased. Redacted. Like I was classified information nobody had clearance to access anymore. But here's what they didn't understand. While Patricia was crafting her narrative and Emma was editing me out of her story, I was building something new. Something they couldn't touch, couldn't diminish, couldn't ignore away. I'd rented a cabin in northern Montana. Remote. Off-grid except for a satellite internet connection. The kind of place where you can think clearly without the noise of other people's expectations. And I wasn't alone. The call came from Patricia's attorney 6 weeks after I left. My lawyer, a sharp woman named Helen Rodriguez who specialized in asset protection, forwarded me the message with a 2-word comment. "They're scared." Patricia wanted access to my pension fund, the one from my years at Boeing. She'd tried logging in with old credentials and hit a wall. So she'd lawyered up, assuming she could force her way in. Helen called me from her office in Seattle. "David, I've got their formal request here. They're claiming marital asset rights to your pension." I was sitting on a cabin porch, watching eagles circle over the lake. And they don't have a case. You restructured everything into a living trust 5 years ago. It predates any wedding planning, any recent marital issues. It's bulletproof. What about Emma? I asked. That's what really mattered. She's listed as a beneficiary, but with conditions. She needs to complete a degree, maintain employment for 1 year, and establish independent residence for 18 months without financial support from Patricia. I smiled. So she gets everything as she grows up. Essentially, yes. Your attorney who set this up was brilliant. Patricia isn't even mentioned in the trust documents. There was a pause on the line. Then Helen continued, her voice careful. "David, there's something else. Patricia's lawyer mentioned she's considering filing to have you declared legally dead. It's premature by years, but they're testing the waters. My grip tightened on the phone. She wants me dead on paper. She wants access to your assets. And if you're declared deceased, your trust terms might accelerate. But here's the thing. They need proof you're not just absent. They need evidence of death or disappearance under suspicious circumstances. You've been paying bills, haven't you? Everything's automated through the trust. Then they can't prove you're dead. You're just gone. And there's a big legal difference. After the call ended, I sat there processing it. Patricia wasn't looking for me out of concern. She was looking for my money. The woman I'd spent 23 years with was trying to legally erase me so she could cash in. That night, Connor called for Vancouver. My son, the one Patricia never knew existed, the one I'd kept separate from that life because I'd learned the hard way that some people don't deserve access to everything you are. Dad, I saw the trust notification. She actually tried to access it. Connor's voice carried disbelief. She thinks it's hers. I said simply, "What are you going to do?" I watched the sun set over the mountains, painting the sky in shades of orange and red. Nothing. Let her exhaust herself. The walls are already built. She just doesn't know she can't climb them. 3 months after I disappeared, Patricia was still selling the narrative. I was the man who'd abandoned his family, the father who couldn't handle the pressure, the husband who'd lost his mind under wedding stress. Then a photograph changed everything. Laura's cousin, a yoga instructor who traveled to wellness retreats like some people collect stamps, posted a carousel on Instagram from a leadership conference in Oregon. Scenic mountain shots, green smoothies, the usual content. But slide 4 showed a conference room full of people sitting in meditation poses, all facing a speaker at the front. The speaker was me. I was mid-gesture, wearing a black quarter zip and gray slacks, no notes in hand. The photo caught me in profile, looking focused and calm. The caption read, "Incredible keynote by DM on finding strength in silence." This man gets it. Laura had warned me about her cousin's social media habits, but I'd underestimated how fast things spread. Within 12 hours, someone Patricia knew had seen it and sent it to her. Patricia nearly dropped her phone, according to Emma's friend who was there when it happened. They were having brunch, planning bridesmaid duties, when Patricia's face went white. "That's him," Patricia whispered. Emma grabbed the phone, zoomed in, stared. 3 months of telling people I was having a breakdown, that I was fragile, that I couldn't cope. And there I was, looking healthier and more composed than I'd looked in years. I wasn't in hiding. I was speaking at conferences, leading workshops, building something new. Laura called me that evening. She was laughing. "David, you're internet famous. My cousin's post has 5,000 likes. People are asking who you are." "That wasn't the plan," I said, but I was smiling too. "Maybe it's better this way. Let them see you didn't fall apart. You evolved." She was right. The narrative Patricia had carefully constructed, the story of the broken man who abandoned his family, it collapsed in a single photograph. Because the man in that image didn't look broken. He looked free. Emma didn't call, didn't text. But 2 weeks later, an envelope arrived at the P.O. box I'd set up. Cream-colored, expensive paper. Inside was a wedding invitation addressed in Emma's handwriting. At the bottom, below the printed text, she'd added a line in pen. "If you're still out there, I want you to walk me down the aisle." I held that invitation for a long time, reading those words over and over. She didn't apologize, didn't explain, just asked. I pulled out my phone and sent a single text to the number I knew she still had. "If I come, no one can know beforehand." Her reply came 3 minutes later. "Deal." The morning of Emma's wedding arrived with overcast skies, the kind that make everything feel heavier than it is. I'd driven through the night from Montana, arriving at the venue 3 hours early. The black sedan I'd rented sat in the service lot behind the building, invisible to the arriving guests. Connor had flown in from Vancouver the night before. He was waiting in the car when I pulled up, dressed in a sharp charcoal suit that matched mine. My son looked every bit the successful architect he'd become. "You ready for this?" Connor asked as I climbed out. "I've been preparing for 3 years," I replied. "Time to see if the preparation pays off." We walked the perimeter of the venue, staying out of sight. I could see guests starting to arrive. Patricia's sister, Emma's college friends, people I'd known for years who'd accepted Patricia's version of events without question. Connor checked his watch. "The ceremony starts in 40 minutes. When do you make your entrance? When Emma texts me. Not before. My phone buzzed. Emma's message was simple. Bridal suite. Side entrance. Now. I turned to Connor. Stay here. If things go sideways, you're my extraction. He nodded, the kind of understanding that doesn't need words. Military families understand operational security. We learned it from different sources, but the principle was the same. I made my way through the side entrance, past catering staff too busy to notice me. The bridal suite was down a corridor away from the main hall. I knocked twice. Emma opened the door herself. She was already in her dress, veil lifted, makeup perfect, but her eyes were red-rimmed. "Dad," she whispered, and for the first time in years, I heard my daughter's real voice. Not the dismissive tone, not the eye-rolling exasperation. "Just Emma. You look beautiful," I said simply. She pulled me inside and closed the door. We were alone. "Mom doesn't know you're here." I didn't tell anyone except Ryan. "Ryan knows. He's your hire at Aero Consult Northwest, Dad. He figured it out 2 months ago when he saw your signature on his employment contract. He's been helping me plan this." I blinked. Ryan Hoffman, Emma's fiancé, worked for the consulting firm I'd built after leaving Boeing. The firm I'd sold my shares in to fund my disappearance. Except I hadn't sold all of them. I'd transferred a controlling interest to Connor, kept a silent stake, and continued consulting through an LLC. Ryan knew, and he'd kept quiet. "Does he know about Connor?" I asked. "Your other son?" "Yes. He helped Connor coordinate your arrival time." The web of connections suddenly made sense. Ryan wasn't just some random guy Emma had met. He was someone who'd been vetted, tested, proven trustworthy. Someone who'd earned his position through competence, not connections. "Emma, I need to tell you something," I said. "About your trust fund." "I know about the conditions," she interrupted. Ryan explained them. "Degree, job, independent living. I'm enrolled full-time now, graduating in December. And Ryan's firm offered me a position in project management starting in January. And the living situation? We're moving to Seattle after the honeymoon. No financial help for Mom." I studied my daughter's face. She'd grown up, not just in age, but in understanding. "What changed?" "That photo of you," she said quietly. "The one from the conference. I saw you looking healthy and confident and free. And I realized you weren't the one who was broken. We were. Mom and I. We pushed you out and then blamed you for leaving." "Emma." "No, let me finish. I saw that photo, and I asked myself, when was the last time I looked that happy? And I couldn't remember. Because I've been living Mom's life, not mine. Making her choices. Following her rules. And look where it got me. 27 years old. No degree. No job. No independence." She took a breath, steadying herself. "I don't expect you to forgive me. I don't even expect you to stay after the ceremony. But I needed you to know that I see it now. I see what we did to you." I put my hand on her shoulder. "I'm here because you asked me to be. That's enough. Will you walk me down the aisle?" "That's why I came." She hugged me then, carefully, trying not to wrinkle her dress. When she pulled back, she was crying. "Mom's going to lose her mind," she said with a shaky laugh. "Let her." The music started. That traditional wedding march that's been playing at ceremonies for generations. Through the small window in the bridal suite, I could see the guests standing, turning toward the doors. Emma took my arm. Her hand was shaking slightly. "Ready?" I asked. "No," she admitted. "But let's do it anyway." The doors opened. Every head in that room turned to look. And the collective gasp was audible. They'd expected Patricia. They'd expected the mother-daughter unity narrative that had been sold for months. Instead, they got me. The ghost. The absent father. The man who'd supposedly abandoned his family. But I didn't look like a man in hiding. I looked like exactly what I was. Someone who'd rebuilt himself. Emma and I took the first step together. Her grip on my arm tightened. I kept my pace steady, my eyes forward. Not looking at Patricia, who stood frozen near the front, her face cycling through shock, anger, and something that might have been fear. Not looking at the guests, whose whispers created a low buzz through the room. Not looking at anyone except my daughter, who needed me to be strong enough to carry her through this moment. Ryan stood at the altar, and when I caught his eye, he gave me a subtle nod. Respect. Recognition. The kind of acknowledgement one professional gives another. We reached the front. Emma turned to me, kissed my cheek, whispered, "Thank you." I placed her hand in Ryan's, stepped back, and took a seat on the far side of the room. Not in the front row, where fathers traditionally sit. That would have been Patricia's row. Instead, I sat near the middle, next to Connor, who'd slipped in through a side door during the processional. Patricia stared at us, at me, then at Connor, then back at me. Her mouth opened slightly, trying to process what she was seeing. Because Connor looked like me. Same jaw, same build, same eyes. And he was sitting beside me like he belonged there. She didn't know about him. Had never known I'd been married before. Had never asked about my past, because she'd been too focused on controlling my present. Now she was seeing proof that I had an entire life she'd never accessed. A son she'd never met. A family structure that existed completely outside her knowledge. The officiant began speaking, but I barely heard him. I was watching Patricia try to maintain composure while her world rearranged itself. Watching her realize that every story she'd told, every narrative she'd constructed, was built on incomplete information. Connor leaned close and whispered, "She looks like she's seeing a ghost." "Two ghosts," I corrected. The ceremony continued. Vows were exchanged. Rings were placed. Emma and Ryan were pronounced husband and wife. Through it all, Patricia stood rigid, her carefully constructed facade splintering with each passing moment. When the recessional started and the newly married couple walked back down the aisle, Emma caught my eye and smiled. A real smile. The kind I hadn't seen from her in years. Patricia intercepted me before I could leave my seat. "What are you doing here?" she hissed, keeping her voice low enough that nearby guests wouldn't hear. "I was invited," I said simply. "By who?" "By the bride. My daughter." "Your daughter? You abandoned her. You walked away without a word." I looked at her calmly. "I left you, Patricia. There's a difference. Emma chose to invite me back. That was her decision, not yours." She glanced at Connor. "And who is this?" "This is Connor. My son." Her face went pale. "You're what?" "My son. From my first marriage. The one you never asked about." The reception was in full swing when Patricia finally cornered me. I was standing near the garden terrace with Connor, watching Emma and Ryan dance their first dance as a married couple. Patricia approached with her wine glass gripped too tightly, her smile nowhere in evidence. "We need to talk. Now." "There's nothing to discuss," I said calmly. "Nothing? You show up after 3 years with a son I didn't know existed, and you think there's nothing to discuss?" Connor stepped slightly closer. "Mrs. Marsh, maybe this isn't the time." "I'm not talking to you," she snapped at him. Then back to me. "How long were you planning this? How long have you been lying to me?" "I never lie, Patricia. You never asked. 23 years of marriage, and you never once asked about my past. You just assumed you knew everything worth knowing." Her face flushed. "So this is my fault." "This is nobody's fault. It just is. I had a life before you. Connor is part of that life. The fact that you didn't know about him says more about what you didn't ask than what I didn't tell. And the trust? The money you hid from me. I didn't hide anything. I protected assets I'd earned before we married. That's legal. That's smart. And frankly, given that you try to have me declared dead to access those assets, I'd say my instincts were correct." She recoiled like I'd slapped her. "I never." "Yes, you did. Your attorney filed preliminary paperwork. My lawyer has copies." Patricia's mother, Dorothy, appeared beside us. The elderly woman looked at her daughter with disappointment etched into every line of her face. "Patricia," Dorothy said quietly, "stop making a scene at your daughter's wedding." "Mom, stay out of this." "No, I've stayed out of it for too long." Dorothy turned to me. "David, I apologize for my daughter's behavior. I tried to tell her she was treating you poorly. She wouldn't listen." Patricia stared at her mother. "You're taking a side? I'm taking the side of decency. You ignored this man for a month, mocked him behind his back, and when he left, you tried to steal his money. What did you expect him to do? He abandoned us. He left you." Dorothy corrected. "And can you honestly say you gave him a reason to stay?" The silence that followed was heavy. Patricia looked at her mother, at me, at Connor, and seemed to finally understand that she'd lost the narrative. Nobody here believed her version anymore. Emma approached, still in her wedding dress, Ryan beside her. "Mom, can we not do this today? Your father." "My father is here because I asked him to be. And I'm glad he came. I'm glad Connor came. I'm grateful they both showed up when I needed them." Patricia's eyes filled with tears. Real ones this time, not performative. "You're choosing him over me?" "I'm not choosing anyone over anyone," Emma said firmly. I'm just done pretending Dad was the villain in this story. He wasn't. We were. I didn't stay for the whole reception. Once Emma and Ryan had their first dance, once the speeches were done and the cake was cut, Connor and I slipped away. We'd said what needed saying just by being there. Laura was waiting at the hotel, Sophia asleep in the portable crib we'd brought. She looked up when I entered, searching my face for signs of how it went. Emma was beautiful, I said, and she's going to be okay. And Patricia? Patricia is Patricia, but she's not my problem anymore. Laura crossed the room and hugged me, not out of pity, but out of partnership. She'd helped me rebuild myself over the past 2 years, helped me remember what it felt like to be with someone who actually saw me. Connor ordered room service, and the three of us ate dinner while he told stories about his architecture projects in Vancouver, about his wife Sarah and their son, my grandson, who was starting kindergarten in the fall. You should come visit properly, Connor said. No more hiding. No more secret trips. Just normal grandpa visits. I'd like that. My phone buzzed with a text from Emma. Thank you for today. Can we have coffee next week? Just us. I showed it to Laura. She smiled. She's reaching out. Yeah, she is. 8 months later, Emma graduated with her business degree. I was in the audience, sitting between Connor and Laura. Patricia was there too, but on the other side of the auditorium. We didn't speak. We didn't need to. Emma started her job at Ryan's firm, the one I still had partial ownership in. She was good at project management, turned out. Had a mind for details and deadlines. Wonder where she got that from. She and Ryan moved to Seattle, rented an apartment, lived on their own income. By the time 18 months had passed, Emma had met every condition of the trust. I invited her to lunch at a restaurant overlooking the water. Connor flew down for Vancouver. When we showed Emma the trust documents, explaining everything she'd inherited by choosing to grow up, she cried. I don't deserve this, she whispered. You earned it, I corrected. You did the work. You became independent. That was the whole point. She looked at Connor. I have a brother. You do. And a sister-in-law, and a nephew who can't wait to meet Aunt Emma. We spent 3 hours at that restaurant, building something new. Not fixing what was broken, that couldn't be fixed, but creating something different. Something honest. Patricia called once, months later. I didn't answer. She left a voicemail asking if we could talk. I deleted it without listening to the whole message. Some doors, once closed, should stay that way. Laura and I got married in a small ceremony in Montana. Just family. Connor and Sarah. Emma and Ryan. Sophia as flower girl. No drama. No games. Just people who want to be there. Emma gave a short toast at the reception. My dad taught me that sometimes you have to walk away from people who don't see your worth. And sometimes, if you're lucky, they figure it out before it's too late. I'm grateful I figured it out in time. She looked at me when she said it. And for the first time in years, I saw my daughter. Not Patricia's puppet. Not a girl pretending to be grown. But a woman who'd chosen to build her own life. That was worth every silent morning I'd endured. Every ignored question. Every moment of feeling invisible. Because I'd stopped being invisible by refusing to stay where I wasn't valued. And in the end, the people who mattered found their way back.